done one of those, but yeah, recently I noticed that some people start watching it actually on YouTube, where I back up those streams. So that made me think maybe it's time to do another one if it's if it's a helpful thing. Um, so today we're gonna have a few things I want to continue developing on this platform. I'm working on the same project right now, which is a ticketing system, and what it does is sorry. What it does, it allows people to sell tickets to different events and charge money for it. So that's what we have working now. There are three things I plan to add today, or at least try to add today. One is adding a different loading screen, which is like a cosmetic thing. Another one is having a draft of the events. Right now, when we create event, it's already public and people can buy tickets to it. I want to enable creators of events to have an option to create an event but not publish it yet. So that gives them an option to, play with it a bit, configure settings, and so on. And then maybe if we have time, we'll try to look into changing a background on the event page to do more like dynamic way, because right now we have just one fixed background and all the events have the same background. But as this is very, consumer focused thing, we want to have maybe different backgrounds based on what type of event, like, concert or theater or something. Yeah, cool. So with that, I'm gonna start looking at the loading screen. So first, just to kind of repeat, how I think I have this guy here. So this is the organization section. This is where you as an organizer can create tickets. So I've already created one event. This is an example of event. You can edit it, put more, more text to it if you want to. And this needs to be in the future. So let's put it like a few days in the future. And then you can copy a link, which is what people usually do, and share that in Facebook or some other group. Or you can just directly go to where the event page is, right? And you can just buy tickets right here. And I think soon we will... Alright, I need to sort that out. Let me do it off screen real quick. So this is a payment platform that I'm using. It's called Klarna, and it enables me to charge different things, but how it works is kind of hooks into your social stuff, a social number, like here in Sweden we have a personal number, and then basically borrows you money. Well, that's one of the options. You can always use a card or something like that. But because I'm using like a different browser this time, it doesn't recognize me. Because usually the biggest benefit of this payment gateway is that it does recognize you and you don't need to fill in any details. But yeah, now it should be all in, right? So I can click buy now. Okay, so now it wants one more thing, sorry. Now it's placing the order, and now we see the loading screen, which wasn't that great. It just said content loading and something. So the next task we're gonna do is to actually make sure that that's something nicer. This is just a visual, but it seems like a good thing to start. So first, let's see how we do this so far. I think I have a loading thing somewhere. But anyway, that should be like confirmation page where we get, right? That's when we get back from Klarna with person paid. So if you're watching for the first time, this is built on React. The front end is built on React. The backend is Node.js app. Everywhere I'm using TypeScript, and then I have a Postgres database, I think, backing everything. Yeah. All right. So here's the thing. So we're just doing if state is loading because we're loading something like a. Because what we need to do every time we get back from the payment gateway is to make sure that we actually do that it's correct, that the payment was actually processed, or like the order was placed with the payment processor, and that takes some time in the backend to do these verifications. So while we're doing this is loading state is set to true, and then we just show this page. So for now we can just do something like this, I guess. So that will always make this loading screen visible where we go to the this page, right? So it's always going to be this loading, so we can play with it a bit and get a chance to tweak it. Now I could get it and change it right here, but then it would be local to this specific page. What I want to have is like a shared spinner, I guess, some sort of loading screen that will be applicable wherever in the application. So I will have to take this and move it to another, how do you call it? Damn it. It's been a long time I've written some React. Like it's some model. Damn it. Yeah, well, to like a reusable piece of code. Well, and what do we do nowadays is to have like a spinner thingy, right? That turns around, and that's the loading state. What I've done is I just Googled for free loading spinners. I think I checked this one, and I fetched one of the spinners. I think this one, just adjusted the colors a bit. So this is what I'm left with. This is my spinner. Seems okay. I mean, I'm not aiming to be the most beautiful site on the internet, just aiming for it to work. So right now I just want to insert this GIF inside my web page. So first, what we're gonna do is create some one of these. Oh yeah, it's components is the name for it, right? Of course. So I'm gonna create a component which is loading, I guess. Oh, I already have one. How does that look like? Why I'm not using that? Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so let's try to add this one here. How's that gonna look? Can you do this? Yes. Oh yeah, cool. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, because the first loading I did was just putting a text, which is kind of small, and I didn't like it, and I knew that it's temporary solution, so I just added the header. But now we're using this reusable component loading, so we can change that. So going back to loading component, which was somewhere. So instead of this text, we probably want to have like the picture, right? We still might use this text to be like a description for the image in case it's not loaded, and if you hover over it, I guess. By the way, what I'm doing here with the text, this is a text context, and this enables me to have all my text, literals, like the actual text that is shown on a page, have somewhere in a file. In this case, I have here text context, which just loads base, and that's just a list of like, it's one object and it has a bunch of keys and then the text. And this is really good because in the future, because I'm in Sweden, I don't speak Swedish really. In the future, this might need to be in Swedish, the whole web page. So then I would just add some logic here that will pick language. You know, you can choose the flag on the website usually. So this is how I plan to do it in the future. But yeah, so that's I'm using the context there. So this basically, there's a producer and consumer, and the producer you define somewhere high up in your app. I think I have it in the, yeah, sorry, I'm just jumping all around because I haven't looked into the code for a long time, but I think it should be somewhere in the app, maybe. Let's do text consumer, no, text context. Trying to look up where I'm actually defining the text context. Well, never mind. Oh, I guess I could do this and then find usage. Nah, never mind. It's kind of sad that I don't know how to find this. Yeah, but it's fine. Doesn't matter. So anyways, here we have a text context and we getting a text. So instead of getting a text, what we could do is, but this is a little bit harder to read with this folded brackets and stuff, so I'm gonna refactor it a little bit. Yes. So, you know, as a React component, I'm using this functional style where you basically define a function. You could get props here, but I don't get any because I don't need any here. And then you have like a body on a function, which is supposed to return the JS6 code, or what's the name of it, like the HTML looking like code. What I had here before is like a shortened version of it, because now you know, that's shortened version of lambda function here, that it's basically you say from these parameters you will return this value, and there is no code of the like there is no body of the function, because you just replace it with the return value and return that right away. But that is good enough for like small applications like this. But even this, it already made me think with another lambda function inside of it, and it becomes a little bit messy. So what I'm doing now is writing a proper function here, and then I could do like this, and this is equivalent to what was there before, right? So this is like a longer way of writing the same thing with returning a value. But another thing you can use context is use these use context. So you could use context here, which is a React thing. Then I think I just need to say text context here. I don't know really how this works. I don't remember. But then we can even simplify it by doing just this. Right? So we're saying, get me context to this variable here, and then all my return is this, diff here. And hopefully, if we check, you see this still works, so that's good. Let's just make sure, that the page is reloading, and it is. Cool. So this is good, but instead of this, we want to use the spinner, right? So we're gonna move somewhere a spinner, like copy it here, and I have it in my downloads folder. I think I'm using assets here. So this is a nice place for it. So I'm just gonna copy the things from my downloads. I don't know how it's 80 this thing, and then let's call it assets. No, assets. No, source assets. Images. Let's call it spinner. Perfect. So what I did on here, it's just using a terminal to copy the thing, so I don't need to open Windows, because this is faster a little bit, maybe. But now spinner is here, so that's nice. Now I just need to remember how to put image inside the HTML. I think all you actually do, you just say image here, right? And maybe ref, is that? No, source. Yeah, looks about right. It's kind of difficult to remember how I've done this, so I'm gonna look it up. Right, so this is how I'm loading it. Let's move it to loader, and then I'm gonna talk more about what's happening here. This is a spinner, and then going back to here, what I've done is, yeah, just put it to source. Looks good. So this should be spinner, and then alt, which is the text. We can put that text that we had there before, something about loading, general loading, yeah. So let's see. Whoa, this is pretty neat. Yeah, so it's kind of stretched because the CSS isn't great here. What are we doing here? Well, maybe if we... didn't mean to open that. Maybe if we encapsulate this to like a div thing, then that div will get stretched, but not the image. Man, how come the auto formatting doesn't work when you need it? I think. So that's better, I guess. It would be still nicer to have it in the middle somewhere. So let's see, where's the div? The div is stretched kind of nicely. It's over the whole page, so that's nice. I think what we want is to center it in the middle of it, and then make a div. So let's play in here a little bit with the styles. So I think if we would do just display flex and justify items, is that justify content center? Yes. So that gives it to be in the middle. So what we're doing here is the parent element, the div that contains this picture, saying that everything inside the div should be in the flex kind of setup, and then you can say, where do you want the justify content is like horizontal, and vertical is some weird other words. I don't remember, but what I do is just go flexbox CSS usually like every time, and then I read this flex direction. It's not what I want. Justify content is, you know, here there are nice pictures like vertically, and align items, is that? Yeah, I guess align items is horizontally, but that goes of course only if you're doing row flex. If your main direction is column, then it's the other way around. But we have just one element, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. Well, if we would do 100%, what happens here? Nothing. Would like to get this in the middle. What's the containing element here? I guess it's this main layout. Huh. Well. I'm now a little bit thinking about if this stretching logic should be inside a loading component or if it should live outside of it. Probably be loading component outside of it, maybe, because the loading component, it can maybe, because what I'm planning to do right now is to just make it, you know, you could always do, let me demonstrate. You could do, as you can tell by now, viewer height. Yes, but it's, I don't like that. Why is it doing this? Well, maybe we'll leave it like that because I need to Google some more. As you can tell by now, I'm not that good in CSS or in front-end development by any measure. But yeah, center is fine for now. It's much better than text. But we need to add these CSS things inside my div here, because my div right here doesn't have those. So if we would reload, it still is here. I'm using Bootstrap CSS library, so what you can do is you can just kind of use class names. I think this adds flex, I think. Yeah, I'm going out of my memory, but if you look to Bootstrap CSS, and then somewhere they have docs, or did they just change getting started? Yeah, what's the flex? Is that something else? They changed their website maybe, or I'm just bad remembering. Okay, getting started. Let's search from docs. No. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. Alright, so deflex is marking the element to be display, yeah, flex, I guess. And then we have, we needed what? Align items, was it? Oh no, justify content, this one. And justify content center is the one we want. So how this works is, because to avoid me to have to create a CSS file, which would be either like a separate file here somewhere, like for example page layout, right, has a separate file, and then you have to import it here. which makes it kind of messy. You could do inline CSS files. There are also tools like different libraries that helps you with it. But the issue I have with the libraries is just that my editor, maybe I have my editor misconfigured, but my editor doesn't show me the cool highlights and options you can do here, because it recognizes CSS and knows how to work with CSS. So I'm trying to avoid having separate CSS files, but if I need some custom styling, then I would go with a separate file like here. But again, that's just my preference. That's not definitely. And what the Bootstrap does, it has predefined these classes. So somewhere in the Bootstrap library, there is something that says dflex equals display flex, right? Oh, is it flexbox? Am I messing up? No, it's flex. But because it's already defined in Bootstrap, I don't need to have a file with this anywhere. I just use this, right? And same goes for this one. Alternatively, you could just have one CSS file if your application is simple and do something similar what Bootstrap does. That's also an option, I guess. But this should now give us roughly what we wanted. Yeah. Oh, one thing, it's kind of small, right? Maybe we should increase it somehow. Let's try that. So we would like, width 2. Is that how you messed with sizes? CSS? No. No. Okay, let's see. I don't know if I can actually do it. Grid options, no, that's not what I want. Sizing. Okay, so width 25, 50, but that's, yeah, to your window. That's just a percentage, which is not what I want. I want to have a fixed one. So now I would go and create a separate CSS file, but because I'm lazy, I guess, you can also do this, which is, no wait, just do, which is just provide your own styles right here. So I could say width in equals whatever, 20M. This should totally destroy stuff, right? Cool. It's not nice. I guess that's why it's free, because the quality of the picture isn't good. And 20 is maybe too big. So let's go to like 10. How does that work? Yeah, it looks nicer. Does look nice. Maybe what we can do also is edit a little bit of margin or padding. Maybe no. Damn it. My memory sucks today. Margin and padding, yeah, sure. Spacing, utilities, that's what we want. Margin, padding, top. And then you do what? Oh, okay. And then you do number. So if we do top 5, 2, maybe. Or is it empty? Didn't work. I think it's empty. Yeah, I think we got a little bit of margin. Is it? Yeah, you see the orangey stripe there? I was hoping for a bigger one, so let's put like 4 That's still very little. Yeah, okay. Well, that's workable, I guess. Let's put one on the bottom as well. Now it doesn't matter, but you know. Yeah. Well, it's I'm happy with this. This is fine. Yeah. This looks fine. So now let's fix the... At some point we've done like a switch, right? Saying don't do this. Where was it? It was on confirmation page. Like show is always, not just when you're loading, right? This thing. This was just temporary so that we can play with the loading while we still see it. But we don't need to see it anymore because it works, so I can get rid of this. And now, right? So now it looks like this. Like a different approach, if you would like to have something more complex or better, is to actually not show a spinner in this case, because it's quite fast. So you could have sort of backup strategy that if the page loads within some certain amount of time, you would not show anything. It would be just blank. And if it and then it would fall back to the spinner thing. But because I don't really want to spend too much time on it, I didn't do that. And the reasoning behind it is because it doesn't look that nice if it just flickers and then disappears real quick. So what you want to do is show the spinner if it actually takes longer than certain time, maybe. But for this application, it's fine, I think. One last thing I wanted to do is look up if I'm using this text anywhere else, because then maybe we want to replace it with this loading new loading component, like this check page. What is that? All right, yeah, the check page is okay, we're using it there as well. I'm thinking about this. So this happens when we're loading the Klarna PM. So there are two places right now. One is in the check page, which is a section where you like scan the ticket. We haven't really looked into it, but maybe we will. And then you go to a special place where you actually see the if the ticket is valid or not. And there we have like a text. And then also here in the, but that's much less important because that's visible only by like the organizer actually on the venue. So they're fine with having weird text, but we should probably fix it as well. And here we have a thing which is, which is when we actually going to go to pay. Going to go to pay? Man, that doesn't sound right. No, yeah, there's a spinner there even. That's cool. I didn't know. Right, so when we do get tickets, we got the text real quick. And maybe we don't want that. Maybe we would like to have the spinner as well, right? That's why we build it. But I need to look into it because it's a little bit more complicated here. So how this works is view state here. And as a default, we set the text. So then Klarna HTML has the text in it, and there's an option to set HTML. Why it says HTML here is because how these payment gateways work, or at least this Klarna one, is kind of talk to a server, to the third party, like Klarna servers, and tell them, I have these order, this person wants to create order in my place, you know? And they say, oh yeah, sure. Show them, well, you don't actually know the person actually. You just say, I have this order, new order, I have maybe that amount, and that's all I know. And you send it to the payment provider, Klarna in this case. And what they do is they have like a REST endpoint you call, and they send back HTML payload that you're supposed to put into your web page. So all this comes from Klarna, like the payment provider. So it could be, I guess Swipe or other payment providers have similar approach, I assume. I haven't done the other ones. But you get the HTML here. And then all the people do in this format and everything, that's not my code. That's not talking to my servers. It's talking directly to Klarna. And then you don't have the burden of keeping personal information because everything's in Klarna. You don't have too much. You still have access to the end information, like email, because I'm using email to send tickets actually. But you don't care about like credit cards, and that's a huge hassle. If you have it in your database, then it's a huge risk, right? Because you could get attacked, and then that gets leaked, and it's a problem. So you don't really want it if you can avoid it. And using Klarna or other payment provider, it's a really good way to do this because they store it, they care about it. I don't have to. Well, and how this works, as I mentioned, they send an HTML payload, put it in my page, and then I don't care too much, right? And then at the end, I think I'm just redirecting or something to the confirmation page, or they are redirecting. Maybe they are redirecting. Yeah, somebody redirects. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that's why it's HTML. So what we've done in the code is we just put text, which is not really HTML, but it is actually an HTML because what it does. Let's do something else. So this is a setter of the state. So here we set actually the thing, right? That here we set the HTML snippet. It's a little bit more complicated than I mentioned because in the end what we're doing is we don't only talk to Klarna's backend, we talk to my backend, like Ticketflow backend, and that backend talks to Klarna backend. But what we could do just for now, maybe, is just comment out this line. So that means that we never really set the Klarna's HTML. We just get our spinner, I assume. If we do this, you get tickets, we get our spinner, and we never get an update. So this is, again, like a way for me to kind of play around with this thing, try to figure out how to do this. And where we're using it, it's a much more complex page, but dangerous to set HTML, which is what you do. Because this is not really a good practice, right? To set HTML code inside HTML. So it's not something like highly recommended, but that's how the payment gateways works. So that's what you do. And we say Klarna HTML. So we could either kind of try to figure out how to put our React component into like HTML string. So that would mean processing, the React processing the component into a string and then put it there. Or we could do like a condition right here. If we have Klarna HTML, then we're gonna dangerously set HTML. Otherwise, we can just show the spinner, right? Let's try that. So that means that the default value, let's just do null. Null is falsy, so then we can do like if else. Okay. Oh, let's do empty string then. Sorry, that was too fast, but it complained, TypeScript complained. You could get around with it, some exclamation mark and stuff, but easier is just to do. But sorry, I'm not finishing my train of thoughts. But before I did the change, the TypeScript complained that this one's string and null is not a string, right? That's a different type in TypeScript, because you can have a type A, which is a string, like this, and you can have a different type which is string or null, and this thing which is A would then accept both string or null, but because the type of that dangerously set API thingy only accept strings, I can't have it null. So what I was doing here before, I set it null, right? But then if we go all the way down here, it says here that HTML needs to be string, and null is not assignable to string. But because for our purpose we just need something that is false, so empty string will do as well. So this satisfies both the TypeScript condition check that it's string, because empty string is a string, and my requirement so that if it wasn't set, it's false. Cool. So that was quite difficult to follow, I think. But what we can do here is, so if we have a Klarna HTML, this is a React thing that I'm doing right here. Or it's not React actually, it's like a JavaScript thing. But all right, let's go back a bit. So now what we want to do is do like a conditional thing, but because HTML in general is a declarative language, you don't write if-else statements or loops and stuff like that. That's why this is not actually HTML, this is JSX. No, that's nonsense, ignore me. So what we're doing here is using like a, oh yeah, I was right, that's why it's not HTML but JSX. And then React can interpret these curly braces and say, okay, so here it's not HTML per se, but it's actually something that's supposed to be JavaScript. So React will first evaluate this statement as a JavaScript thing, and then if that's true, sorry about the pop-ups everywhere, if that's whatever is a result of this curly braces thing, that's going to be output. So say we would say, if we just say string here, hi, right? String might work, I haven't tried it. Yeah, it did, right? Here it's down way on the bottom of it. And that's because this is string and JavaScript just evaluates it to string and prints it out, right? If we would do hi plus 2, 12 maybe, and this is a string concatenation, so what it will do is we'll hi and put 12 at the end of it. So you can see this. But what we don't see is actually hi space plus space 12. And that's because this was evaluated as a JavaScript, not as a HTML. And then the result of that thing was actually put into HTML. Well, and then one trick that React encourages to do is these shortcuts. So you can say, if true, and do logical AND, and then some text. What does this do? Because, well, I don't really remember now, but using these logical operators, and they have defined what they return if they're true. So in AND, this is AND operator, right? If this is true and this is true, AND returns the last success, like if the whole sentence, if the whole whole formula is true, then the last part is returned. So it's going this one and this one, right? And this was true, so it returns the last formula. It doesn't return true as a TRUE, but it returns whatever the last true statement was. So that's why it will return this again. And we still see hi 12 here. But if it's false, then we'll just return false, I guess. And then that means maybe it will return like the first falsy part it finds. So it's false in this case. which translates to nothing, like empty string when you try to serialize it to string, to HTML. Let's try what happens to null. I don't know if null gets serialized to null. No, also nothing. So this is what these lines below do. They check this, and if this is true, then they check this, and this is always true, basically because it's constant, it's some sort of string, right? So that means return the second part of it, or the last part of the end statement. So it will return this. If this is false, on the other hand, it will return false and show nothing in that space. So that was that. And now what we want to do, another trick that React people like to use a lot is this terminal operator. And that's what I'm going to use here. So if Klarna HTML is defined, then return this. But otherwise we can return something else, like this, right? So what we're doing right here is, if the HTML is defined, return the HTML, dangerously set it, whatever. If it's not, then just show loading, which looks cool, and I bet it works. It works. It's not perfect again, it's not censored and stuff, but it's way better than the text already. And I don't want to deal with more of it. It's actually a different background. Yeah, it's fine. I could always tweak the thing. In ideal case, you have like a transparent background behind the spinner, so it doesn't matter what the original background was, it just works. But not today. Yeah, so this works. And now if we uncomment this part, which was just for check, right? And go back here. Right, it was there. Then there's Klarna. Everything looks perfect. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. I mean, I was planning to do more, but then, yeah, I always underestimate how much time it takes for me to do something. Yeah, so I guess maybe it was useful for some folks to just see basic spinner implementation. It's not anything like cool or anything like that, but I tried to talk something about the rounded things which might have been helpful. Yeah, but please let me know if there's anything specific that you would like me to go into, which would maybe fit into my ticket flow platform, and I can do that next time. Alright, well, thank you folks for viewing, and see you around the internet. Just need to now figure out how to stop this.